Good morning, party people. Let me pause this. Whoa, hold on 1 second. 1 second. I got a cool new camera, so you guys are gonna have to tell me what you think about it. Does it look good on that side? I don't know. We'll see. I might be too dorky for all this technology, but hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Hey, Mike. Hey, so while everyone is chiming in this weekend or today, I want to know what you did this weekend. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. But chat in, what did you do this Labor Day weekend? I want to hear about everybody. It looks like Tracy built an expired listing campaign that will run for 2 months. So that's super exciting. And then her husband got a big green egg. So she had a barbecue. This was the perfect weekend for a barbecue. What did you guys do? I went to a baby shower. If you know me, I'm literally always going to a baby shower and painted an accent wall in my house. That's exciting. Did some fantasy football drafts. I'm in a fantasy team league with some family. I have no idea what I'm doing, but are any of you on a fantasy football team? I want to hear about it. Pamela had a birthday celebration. Rest never happens. I know, girl. I know. I know. My mom went hiking in the woods. Uh-oh, she did. My mom got into something this weekend. She's covered in poison ivy, guys. Send her good vibes. Oh my gosh. She went up to Gainesville. Yes, Lauren's in 2 leagues. Okay, girl, do you know what you're doing? Or are you just like bopping around with friends? Tracy's been gaga over that egg. We've had all sorts of fun, all sorts of stuff on there. That's good. Those are great. I tried my grandpa's big green egg and I couldn't get the coal to start. And I was with Zach, my husband, and my grandpa was laughing at us. And he was like, well, you guys are smart. You'll figure it out. And we were like lighting paper on fire. We like couldn't get the coal started. We're gas propane people. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is your 8th year? Okay, Lauren, you know what you're doing. You're gonna have to give me some pointers. Oh my gosh. Well, good. So as everyone's coming in, it sounds like we did a little bit of work, but a little bit of play this weekend, which is what good holiday weekends are for. As realtors, we have people coming in from all over, right? So we kind of have to be available on a holiday because that's when people travel in. But it's also good to take time for ourselves because we are important. And if our cup is full, then we can pour out into others. So I'm glad and I hope that you guys got some time off this weekend. Maggie hosted 2 open houses, Sun baseball tournament, and went to St. Pete Beach. Good. A little bit of work and a little bit of fun. That's exactly what we want. Well, today, I did a class for Century 21 in Las Vegas earlier this year that was about the 2-step listing process. So when we go on a listing presentation, it's hard to price the house without seeing it first, right? And there's a lot of realtors, a lot of different brokerages out there that go on listing appointments and they've never seen the house before. And this is crazy to me. Here at Beggins, we train that you go and you take a preview of the property before you go see the house and price it on your listing presentation. So how do we do that? What does that look like? What is the reason for the preview? What do you do when you're on the preview? We're going to jump into everything today. And this is what I did for Century 21. So we're going to go off of that presentation. Awesome. All right. I'm going to leave the chat box open. And if you guys have questions during the presentation, chat in. I'm happy to answer any of them kind of as we go. It's typically a 45-minute class. I'm going to move quickly. We have about 25 minutes left this morning, and I can send out the slides after. So let's go ahead and jump in for today. I'm going to share my whole desktop just in case something goes wonky. So how's that? Can you guys see it okay? Let me know in the chat. I've got it open on the side here. All right, so we're going to jump into the 2-step listing process. You guys know about me. I'm going to skip that screen. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do to understand why the preview is important is to talk about the state of the market. What is our market looking like today? All right, and then we're going to talk about Tracy's going to dip out a little early. That's okay. We're going to talk about what it looks like to pre-qualify your seller, what it looks like to go on the preview, go home, work on the pricing, and then build your presentation so that you can position their house on the market exactly where it will need to be to sell in its best fashion. All right, so we're going to jump into the housing market. So let's talk about buyers first. We have to understand the buyers in order to understand our listing, right? So this is all the buyers. Let's say this is about 100 buyers in the market. Well, did you know that about half of those buyers, even this year in the interest rate world, this crazy world that we're in right now, half of the buyers are going to purchase regardless of what the interest rates are? For those of you in the back, the half of the buyers out there today are going to purchase regardless of what the interest rates are. We still have buyers. And haven't the interest rates eased up a little bit? They have. They've eased up. We're probably in a 6% environment on average right now. And there's some loan programs out there that are offering less, like 5.2% and an adjustable rate mortgage. So there's things out there right now for buyers to feel comfortable when purchasing. So this number may even be higher now. These are stats from earlier in the year. And then another 24% of buyers are all cash. So they're really buying no matter what the interest rates are. So we have about 75% of the market is buying no matter what the interest rates are. All right. So interest rates are not an excuse. That's not why buyers aren't buying. It is an election year, and sometimes that has something to do with it. People get a little uncomfy when they don't understand what's going on in the market. So those are all excuses, the interest rates. All right. So lock-in sellers. How many of you have heard the term lock-in sellers? I want you to chat in the chat box if you have heard about it. All right. Now let's go to sellers, right? All of these blue dots. Yep. Because you guys are part of Beggin, so of course you've known about it. All right. So here's the same thing. About 100 sellers here in the market. Well, did you know that 21% of homeowners have an interest rate, only 21% have an interest rate of greater than 5%. So that's these people over here. Everybody in blue has an interest rate of less than 5%. Less than 5%. This is why our inventory has been lower, because so I have a perfect example of this. I had a buyer or a seller call me last week. Her name's Amber. I helped Amber purchase her home 4 years ago. She has like, I don't know, a 3.2% interest rate on this house. She bought it for maybe $240,000. It's worth probably $415,000 right now. And she called me the other day and she wants to move up to Homosassa. Her in-laws are moving there. They help her with her kids. And she was like, but Jessica has such a good deal on this house. I don't want to sell it. I want to look into renting it out. Do you know a property manager? She wants to keep that asset rather than taking the money out and moving, because it's such a good interest rate for her. It's an interest rate. The mortgage is low, so she can rent it out, make $1,000 a month on it. And so she's not moving. This is the perfect example. All of these blue dots have a similar story to where maybe they are qualified to hold on to two houses because their interest rate or their mortgage payment is so low that they're able to keep that house and buy another. So there's some stories in here as to why people aren't selling. And then there's those whose interest rate are higher than 5%. So they're like, well, we're kind of in the same environment right now, so I might as well just sell and move on. So this is why we're having a little lack of inventory. Now our inventory is growing because these people that are in maybe the 3 to 4, the 4 to 5% interest rate range, maybe their house is just too small. It's just too small, or life is happening to them, right? We've got the 4 Ds: death, debt, divorce, and displacement or relocation. Okay, so those are the 4 main reasons that people buy and sell real estate. And have you noticed, chat in? I want you guys to chat in because most of my appointments lately have been death, debt, divorce, and displacement. The real reasons that people buy and sell real estate are absolutely 100% back. And that's kind of relieving this lock-in seller effect. People have to sell their house now. So yeah, divorce and displacement for Lauren. Yep. Y'all know about my divorced couple. We're going to have to take it temporarily off market and they're going to put me in their like law documents that I will be their realtor when they relist it, but it's like crazy. So divorce is a real thing, displacement, people relocating, it's a real thing. Michael asks, will she really make $1,000 a month? Yeah, she will make, I know with fees and everything, she'd probably clear about $800 a month. So she doesn't want to sell that house. So she's a perfect example of what it looks like to be a lock-in seller. All right. So now that we kind of understand more of the state of the market, we've got all these buyers, but we have little inventory. So we want to make sure that the inventory that we have is the best on the market for those buyers to come and grab. And how are we going to do that? We are going to pre-qualify our sellers and make sure that they're a true seller. So not only do we pre-qualify our buyers, but we want to get into the nitty-gritty of the seller's information to make sure that we've got a serious seller. Then we're going to preview the property, we're going to price the property, and then we're going to come back and do our presentation. So when you're pre-qualifying, some of the questions to ask while you're there at the house, or this is actually when you're on the phone with them before you even set your preview appointment. You're going to ask them some questions. You're going to want to find out if they actually have to sell. Where are they moving? When do they need to be there by? And if for some reason that time frame doesn't work out, what are their options? All right. So maybe this is somebody who is moving to Texas and it's a job relocation. Their job starts in 60 days. They absolutely have to sell their house in order to purchase the new one. So you know they have to sell, you know where they're moving, and you know they need to be there within 60 days. This is a hot seller. This is why we ask these questions. Now, if it's somebody who, well, I just want to be closer to my grandbaby that's being born in like 6 months, and I don't really have to sell. I just kind of want to see what my house is worth. And, maybe I can take the money out and move closer to my grandbaby. You're like, okay, well, maybe this could be a seller because she does have a reason to move. She wants to be closer to her grandbaby. As you get closer to that grandbaby being born, you're probably going to get a more realistic idea out of her. But there's a chance that she could just move in with her daughter and be there while the baby's born, and then they have another house. So you never know. You got to get down to the nitty gritty and ask these questions. And then another really good important question to ask is, what do you feel the approximate value of your home is? Ask that question because some people are looking on Zillow and they know what the Zestimate is. Is the Zestimate always right? No. Chat in and tell me a time that the Zestimate was wrong for you and how it worked out, because not all the time is the Zestimate real. And so we have to be the logical ones that come in. But they think they have an idea of what their home is worth. And it's always nice to know that number so that you can kind of, come at it from that direction when you're on the presentation. So when you go to set the preview, this is a script that I'll use. So on the first appointment, I'd like to come by and just take a quick preview of your property. It should only take about 10 to 15 minutes. I just want to put together a list of all the repairs that you've done since you've owned the property so that I can properly price it versus the competition. When would be a good time for me to come over and take a preview? I can come Thursday at 2 or Friday at 4. And then stop talking and let them answer the question. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that's great. Now, know that not a lot of other realtors are doing this. So you are going to stand out against the competition just by asking this question. Just by saying, I want to know, I can't price the property until I see the home in person and take a list of all of the upgrades that you have in your home. I want to make sure that I'm pricing it properly versus the competition. You are going to stand out. Now, when you do this, make sure to let them know on this preview, I won't be coming with any pricing. So I won't be able to price it until I've seen it in person and I take those notes. And then I will come back and we'll set another time to go over the pricing together. So make sure that they know you're not going to come with pricing on the first appointment so that you're setting proper expectations from the start. Now, on the preview, what is the preview not for? The preview is not for telling them what they need to change about their property. Okay. That's something when you come back for your listing appointment, that's when you can say, these other comps, you can blame it on the comps instead of you just walking around the property and being like, you need to paint this, you need to take this down, these floors need to be replaced. Let the market do that for you. So the preview is not the time to tell them what they need to change. And it's also not the time to talk about pricing. because we don't know what the house is worth until we have seen it in person. So if that's what the preview is not for, what is the preview good for? You've got to see the home in person before you can price it. So I have an example of this. This is a home that I had listed earlier this year, and this was the Zestimate. The Zestimate was $570,300. This is what the house looked like when I looked it up and I was just kind of browsing for comps, very briefly browsing. I was like, okay, maybe she's in like a 575 range. That was kind of the number I had going into the preview. Well, what actually happened is this is what the home looked like. It was beautiful. Okay. The landscaping was gorgeous. She had it all repainted. Literally, you walk inside and there were like 14-foot ceilings with immaculate crown molding. The floors were a beautiful engineered hardwood. The pool patio had just been all repavered. It was beautiful. I would have never known that information if I had not seen the property in person beforehand. So I would have gone in with my 575 number and I would have been scrambling to find, oh my God, when I got there, oh my God, none of my comps were the ones that I actually think would work for this home. What am I going to do? And you're panicking. And then on your listing appointment, instead of being able to listen to the seller and what they're actually saying, you're panicking trying to find a new number to present to them. So that's why it's so important to go on that preview. Just take a step back, analyze the house, create a relationship with the seller, and then come back for pricing. So we actually ended up selling this house for $639, and this is what it looked like. It was beautiful. We would have left all that money on the table if I had not come for the preview. So just an example. All right, I've got a question in here. We're going to ask Jose. I have a client that needs to sell their home because of HOA issues. And unfortunately, in their community, there are 9 homes on the market between villas and single family homes. How will you handle the situation? They need a minimum of 420,000. Please advise. So, Jose, what I'm thinking when I see this is that all other 9 homes on the market are having the same HOA issues. So, I would want to know exactly what those HOA issues are, what the timeline of them being resolved is, and pricing the home versus the competition very strategically. Is there a way to pay off some of the HOA issues? Is it an additional assessment, or is it legal things that are prohibiting closings or kind of steering people away? So I've got some follow-up questions to that, but we can chat about this after. But know that all other 9 homes on the market are having the same issue. So I think finding a solution for the issue and marketing the solution is going to be one of the ways that you would stand out. And Kristen has the same issue going on with a condo listing. Yeah, condos are really tough with everything going on in the market. And there's a lot of added assessments now because of the milestone reports. So finding creative ways to market and market solutions to these issues is probably how you're going to get buyers in. All right. So we need a little more information on that one and we can help put a plan together. All right. So other things that the preview is good for: creating rapport with the seller and finding commonality. So this is the time on the preview where you're going to walk through the property and start noticing things and pointing things out that like you can come together with the seller on something. You can find a point of interest that you have together. All right. So this would be like if somebody had an American flag folded on a shelf. You can ask, oh, was you or someone in your family in the service? What branch did they serve for? And ask them questions. The more information you can get about the seller's personal lives and personality during this presentation, the better you're going to be able to come back with the pricing, because they'll already start to trust you. So the goal of the preview is almost less about the upgrades in the home as it is finding a commonality with the seller and learning what their personality style is. Yes, Jose, you can call me later today. Here's my cell and feel free to give me a call and we can chat about it. All right. So yeah, we're going to earn the seller's trust on the preview. So the whole idea behind this is people like people who are like themselves. So if you can find things in their house like, oh, you went to the Grand Canyon, I did too. What was your trip like? Start asking them questions that you can build a relationship with them off of. So we all know about the DISC, the personality styles, right? So the idea behind the preview is to find their personality. So here's a brief overview. It's 9:20, so we've kind of talked about this before. So I won't go too much into detail, but if you can find the seller's personality while you're there on that preview appointment, you can tailor your pricing presentation towards their personality style. So if they're a high D, they are in and out. They don't want you mingling in their home. They don't want to chit chat. They want the numbers on their home. They want to know the time frame that it's going to sell, and they want it now. So somebody who's a D, your preview is going to be very quick. This is the kitchen, bedroom, and living room. All right, cool. Took my notes. Your roof is this year. Your water heater is this year. Your AC is this old. I will be back. I can come back tomorrow at 1 or tomorrow at 4. Which time works best for you? Boom, 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 in and out. If somebody is an I personality, they're going to want to chit chat with you. They're going to be like, oh, well, Sally Joe down the street, she's been living here for like 15 years and she told me this and blah, blah, blah. Like they're going to start telling you about all the neighbors and they're going to be like, oh my gosh. And these upgrades that I did to my house, they were so fun. And we had this contractor and he was here for like 4 days and then blah, 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 blah. Like they're going to tell you everything. The eyes are just an open book and they're going to start talking the whole time. And you're like, okay, cool. I got an eye. So, you can be a little fun, energetic, and start matching their energy. If you've got an S seller, they're probably sweet, supportive. They're a little more quiet and reserved. Maybe they have some like family heirlooms or some furniture that they start talking about, or, I raised my babies in this home and they get real sentimental. That's an S. So you know that when you go to sell their property, you can mention things. This is where you would ask them, why did you purchase this home? And when you do that, listen to how they answer. And if they say something like, I just wanted to see my babies crawl around and have the backyard for my dogs to run around and all the things, the S is going to love if you retell that story in your listing description. So find that if those sentimental things are important to them, hit on that. And then the C personality is going to be somebody who's very calculated, very analytical. They want the numbers. Okay. So they're not quite as like kick you out of the house as a D personality, but they're not about the grandbabies crawling on the floor. They're about the age of the AC, how much money they put into the kitchen, other comps in the neighborhood. They're going to ask you some questions. So the C is very analytical, but they like all of the information. So you know that when you come back for your listing appointment, you better have some detailed numbers on those comps, and you better have some detailed adjustments when it comes to pricing. So the preview is for understanding what these personality styles are of your seller so that you can then tailor your listing presentation towards them. All right. So when you're on the preview, when you're there, take the notes and find something common about them. Ask them questions that will help you properly price the home. And that would be things like, what are some of the reasons you bought this house? What are your favorite features? Ask them what the age of the roof, the AC, the water heater are. Ask them what upgrades they've done since they've lived there. These things will help you price the property, but they're also going to give you a little insight into their personality. And then if you can, bring a leave behind. So this can be a texted Moxie presentation. This can be an emailed Moxie presentation, or you can bring something in hand that you want to leave behind that's actually printed. So print that Moxie presentation and put it in a nice plastic sleeve. And then while you're on the preview is when you're going to schedule a time to come back for the pricing analysis. So thank you so much for letting me kind of comb through and take these notes. I can come back tomorrow with some pricing, tomorrow at 1 or 4, which time works best for you, and let them answer. And if it doesn't, they'll tell you what time works best. But the idea is to come back within 24 to 48 hours, because if they are interviewing other agents, they're going to want to know what your number is. They will wait for you. You are a professional and you have the numbers, so they will wait for you. But the idea is to do the listing preview and then come back 24 to 48 hours later with pricing. So this is an example of one of our current leave behinds in our listing presentation. But I do know that we are in the midst of making a new one like we did for the buyer presentation. So something that's real classy, clean. And so it would be something like this that you would want to leave behind for them. So when you go to price the property, you've done your preview, you pre-qual the seller, they're moving to Texas, got to be there in 60 days. And then you go and preview the property and you're like, dang, this place is nice. I'm looking forward to it. Now you're going to work on pricing. So there's 6 factors that influence the listing price. Market conditions, the terms that the seller offers, exposure, which we don't have a problem with. Century 21 is a global marketing powerhouse, right? Comparable properties. So we want to look at pending sales and ones that have just recently sold, the property's features and benefits, and then how motivated the seller is. And that's where we have that range that I'll show you an example of. If they list on the high side, it's going to take longer to sell their property. If they need to get out ASAP and days on market on average is 90, but they need to move in 30 days, then we're going to have to list on the low end to get some people in there and get this sold quickly. Now there's 4 factors that have 0 impact on the listing price, right? What the seller paid for it, certain investments that they made on the property, they're not getting that dollar for dollar return on their kitchen, renovation. What the seller wants to net from the sale also, unfortunately, doesn't mean that's what it's worth. And what those outside of the industry believe that it's worth. So your brother's sister's husband thinks that your house is worth 650. Cool. Here's what the market actually says. So here are some filters that you can use for pricing. I try to stay within plus or minus 300 square feet of the property. Year built comes into play, whether or not the home has a pool, how many stories it is, bedroom, bathroom count, and then keep it within 1 mile of the subject property because that's what an appraiser does. So by using these numbers here, you're going to be pricing it like an appraiser would. So you shouldn't have issues with appraisal. And if the seller can get really realistic with their number, the appraisal is not going to be an issue. So the idea when you're pricing a home is to get really specific, try to find the exact property. And then if there's nothing available, that's when you kind of expand your search criteria. That's when you go, okay, well, maybe 3 to 4 bedrooms then. 2 to 3 bathrooms. Maybe it's got a half bath. And then you can make some adjustments. So start very niche and then move your way out to price the property. And this will create then a price range for you. So this is an example. If we price the home on the high end, it's going to take longer to sell. It'll be a slower sale. If we price the home on the low end, it will most likely sell quicker. And this is an average of what you would walk away with after closing. So a lot of times this helps me overcome commission objections because you already have the commissions in here, 3% and 3%. So when you're doing this these days, you say Century 21 Beggins charges 3% to market your property. We also highly encourage that you as the seller offer a 3% buyer agent commission as an incentive for other realtors to show your property. And so with these numbers already calculated in here, along with our transaction fee of $325, this covers your, it's a safety and storage. It's like a security fee. All of our e-signing platform through Dotloop keeps all of the documents for you. So you have access to them long-term. You'll have access to them forever, all of your listing documents. So all of these numbers, including the doc stamps on the deed, what it looks like to pay the owner's title policy, these are all typical seller closing costs. After your mortgage payoff, this is about what you would walk away with at closing, depending on where we price your property. Now, this is where I would recommend versus what's selling on the market. This would get us out in an average days on market, which is about 65 days right now. So this is what we're looking at. If you're okay with it taking a little longer, we can try for that higher price like you mentioned. But if you need to get out super quick, then I would recommend we go a little under the competition so that we can make those numbers make sense for a buyer. And this is what it looks like when you use Moxie Present. It's a beautiful way to present on a listing appointment, and other agents are not using this. And this is going to make you stand out. So not only are you previewing the property, but you're showing up with beautiful marketing presentation that they're just completely wowed by. It's fully interactive. They can see the stats on their property. They can click into each of these. You guys know Moxie. We've been using it, but actually use it on presentations, okay? It's a beautiful way to present. And then when you do go and present, make sure that you're walking in, you're taking control, and you're asking for that business. Repeat and affirm everything that you asked them on the appointment, the pre-qual phone, like all the things, all right? And then make sure you're mirror matching them. So it's 9:30. We can get into mirror matching on the next Wednesday that I do because I've got some good stories. Let's go through the questions here. Michael said, do you ask where they are going for a possible referral now or after the listing presentation? You know, if you can work that in, Michael, when you're on the preview appointment, because on the pre-qual, you've kind of asked, oh, where are you moving to? So you have an idea. So when you do go for the pre-qual or the preview, and you're kind of walking around the house and you're like, well, I know you said you needed to move to Texas. Have you already connected with a realtor there? Or would you like me to send you another Century 21 agent that can help you? Keep it casual and just kind of slide it in there. And they'll tell you whether or not they are working with a realtor yet. Rachel said, love that. Exactly the way your grandpa taught me when I started. Yes, Rachel, it is. It's literally the spa from Jim Beggins, just in Moxie form. And it's wonderful. Kristen said, is there a place to find the spreadsheet that can be filled in? Yep, I've got an Excel version of this spreadsheet that I can send you. Nothing fancy. It literally looks just like that, but it's kind of nice. Another thing to use, Kristen, is the Fan Agent app. It's the Florida Agency Network, Paramount Title. If you log in, it creates like a range like that for you. So you can use the seller net sheet in the Fan Agent Portal app, and then it will give you a range also. And that one's much prettier. I've started using that recently. Diane, thanks, Jessica. Yes, girl. Yeah, thanks, Diane. Awesome. All right. People want the spreadsheet. So I'll make sure I'll follow up with the team email and I'll drop a link to the spreadsheet so that you guys can use it because it really helps overcoming commission objections and helps with that, you know, longer time on the market, shorter time on the market situation. So I am so glad you guys got a lot out of this today. I know we haven't really been talking about listings that much. So it was fun to hop in and go on those previews. Let me know how it goes. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for logging in.